We need to find a way to get in good trouble, necessary trouble, if we're going to save America.
This is Paige. Welcome to the Necessary Trouble Show. Here's your host, my dad, Russell Fugett.
Thanks, Paige. Good job. Welcome back to the Necessary Trouble Show here at the Good Word Digital Studios. I'm blessed today to be joined by political organizer Cameron Parker. Cameron, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Now, how I first discovered your work was, I think, there's a New York Times article about some of the challenges at ESPN. And I know following up to that, you wrote your own blog piece about some of the time you spent at ESPN. And of course, since that time, we've had our current president, lash out against diversity training. And we've had, the head of Wells Fargo make some very ignorant statements and express an ignorant attitude about we just can't find enough talented Black people. So in that context, tell us a little bit about what you shared in that Medium post and about your experience as a Black male at ESPN.
Yeah, sure. To begin with, the New York Times piece is funny because I was thinking about writing a piece already, because I feel like as Black people, we have so many experiences in corporate spaces and in different spaces, and it sometimes can be emotionally challenging to deal with. And that was my outlet. But something kept telling me to just hold off writing this right now. It just doesn't feel right. And then I read that piece and I was like, it got to a piece of what's going on, but it didn't really speak to a real experience of what it's like from behind the scenes. It was still kind of more focused on the top levels and kind of fluff. So I decided to open up and just write about my experience which was 9.5 years there of working, really hard. Everybody works hard. We all put in the work, but not everybody is rewarded for it. And it was just very interesting that my third year in there at ESPN, I actually had a Black coordinating producer who was my assigned coordinating producer. And he had a conversation with me. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to be real with you. You're great. You're talented, but you're never going to make it as an associate producer here. I'm in these boardrooms. I'm in these meetings where these decisions happen. And it's not for people like me and you. So I suggest you leave and don't waste your time. So that was a decision I had to make at that point. But I think as growing up in this post-racial society, we're kind of in this conflict of the American dream and this thing of racism, and does this really play out and exist? And I'm still fighting this kind of fight that in my head, like, I work hard. I'm going to be rewarded for the work I do. I just do what I got to do. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's old school, blah, blah, blah. I stuck it out. 6.5 years later, I'm still sitting at a PA3, the level that I never rose above from that conversation. Wow. So, and in between that time, I just had so many experiences from supervisors that either it would be a critique of you're not aggressive enough to you're too aggressive, or basketball, is that all you know how to do? Can you do anything else? All this stuff. And mind you, I worked on basketball the first 3 years there because I love basketball, sport I know, really good at it as far as producing. But I gave it up because of those critiques. Still to my last year, still to the month that I left, people were coming up to me asking me how is basketball going. And I had not touched it for 6 years. So it was an interesting time there. It was a learning experience for me. And from that experience, I think I just definitely learned what it's like to live in the corporate world. And I think one of the conversation that really set me off was with one particular producer whenever I was going around and just saying, like, what can I do? Like, I'm trying to make it work for me. I see people rising up, people I'm training or becoming associate producers ahead of me. Like, something is not working. And, he said, he looked at me dead in the face and he was like, because I had came back onto a project to work with him, and he was like, "You think we brought you back on this project for your benefit?" He was like, "No, you do good work and you make us look good." And I sat there for a minute, stunned. Like, did this conversation really just happen? And then I said, "Well, what's in it for me? Like, well, how do I advance myself?" And then he told me, dead in my face, "We don't give handouts." So I was like, okay, I think the writing's on the wall here. This is not the place that's meant for me to grow. It's not the place that's meant for me right now. I could do what I can. I approached HR. That was kind of like a no-win battle there. But, so I left. I decided to leave. It was a hard decision because you feel like you're leaving like such a great career opportunity. But it's my first job out of college that I stuck with. And, that's just a hard thing for somebody to grapple with.
Understood. Well, thank you for sharing that story, and I hope everybody goes to Medium and reads that article. The full piece was very thoughtful and had even more details about some of the anecdotes you just shared. So since that time, you've now pivoted to, at least for now in this season, a career in political activism. I know you're focused particularly on getting out the Black vote in the Midwest. How did you make that transition? How did that happen?
Yeah. And when I left ESPN, I freelanced for a year, and then eventually I moved back to North Carolina, where I'm from. And I started what I always wanted to teach. That was one thing with just because my mother, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I started teaching in between that time, and then I started working at a community college there in my area. But in 2015, the Black Lives Matter movement was going on. It had started around 2013 with Trayvon Martin. But in 2015, when Sandra Bland happened, it really resonated with me. And it really resonated with me because of my own story. And it related to me because of even my own experience back in my senior year in college of actually applying to the job, coming back from applying to the job at ESPN. On the way back home, whenever a friend of mine was stopped by police outside of Raleigh. And that night we were ordered out of our car. We were put on the ground. We were drug searched. We had drug dogs and everybody else all around the car searching our car for drugs. Neither one of us did drugs. And then they came back after 20 minutes of laying on the ground, tell us to get up. And they come back with marijuana, and he's holding it in my face. And he's saying, "Well, if you don't do drugs, then what's this?" And so I tell him, "Well, I don't know. It's not mine, so it must be yours." And I never forget how red his face turned when I told him that. And he held it up to me, and he literally said, I could ruin your life right now if I wanted to, but this time I'm going to let you go. And whenever I looked at that Sandra Bland moment, that decision the officer made off of that little stop, that could have been me. All of us, a lot of us could have been Sandra Bland. And then whatever happened to her in the jail for her to lose her life, at that moment, I said, I got angry. Honestly, I just got really angry. And I looked up the closest Black Lives Matter protest in my area there in Wilmington, and I went there. And from that moment on, I ended up becoming a spokesperson for Black Lives Matter in my area and just became like a big advocate. So my political organizing life really started in 2015. And eventually it just led me here where I am now with Color of Change PAC.
Okay, well, congratulations for that and for being a part of the Color of Change PAC. So, what exactly are you doing? Where when this airs, will be just above about 29, 28 days from Election Day. What are you doing, and what are you working on to get out the vote in this season in these critical Rust Belt states?
Yeah, yes, definitely those critical states. We are doing a lot. Actually, the area I'm assigned is the Midwest. So I'm organizing specifically in Minnesota and Wisconsin. But
Okay.
as an organizing unit, we have a lot of what we call our Black Joy events. We're doing a lot of things around test-a-thons, getting people to test out and votes, call parties, and just throwing really good, creative social events. Our Black Joy events really just focus on just centering Blackness and celebrating who we are and working and creating and building those campaigns. We have tons of allies that are with us as well. But we're really trying to really reach low propensity voters as well. And just for a lot of times, a lot of people have felt like that vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter. And we're just trying to change that narrative. So we're doing what we can to just trying to engage the vote as much as possible. But it's a virtual space. Everything is digital, because of COVID. So it presents some challenges, but we're getting a lot of turnout and making a lot of impact. And we have a goal to have 80,000 voter contacts this season, and we're well on our way to that.
Well, congratulations on that work, and it's exciting to hear. I'm going to ask you a little bit of a question off script as I'm sitting here listening to you, and something I've been grappling with. And people have come to me and come to our producer Crystal and others on our team. Why are you starting this show, Necessary Trouble? Is there any advice you would give us? Is there anything we can do as we look down the road these next 4 weeks and even beyond, as using this space and lending space for voices like yours? Is there anything else we can do with this platform to have an impact in this season that comes to mind?
It comes to mind. I just think of sustainability, just making sure nothing is just the moment and going. So with that, I think it's just really a lot of what you're already doing. For what I've been saying with the show is just the guests that you have on, just the people that are out there in the communities doing the work and doing things. Just continue to engage those people, and so they can get their voices out to engage the community. I mean, I see great things that can happen from this, to having real in-depth conversation, just that real talk. So if you focus on just having real talk to get to the real, I think that will go a long way.
Well, I thank you, Cameron, for being a part of this show. And I'll tell you what, I think so many of us were distressed after watching that first debate. And you just sit around and you think, what else can we do, right? What else can be done? And so I appreciate that insight and that encouragement. And just want to, everybody, I want to make sure I get it right, to follow you as CD Park 81, which is where your Medium blog is. And then, of course, blockchronicles.com is where you're doing some writing. And then also mobilize.us/Color of Change PAC as well. Anything else you want to add or share about how people can connect to you and the work you're doing with Color of Change or any of the other organizations?
Yeah, that's perfect. Just check out that mobilize.us/Color of Change PAC, and you'll find a list of different events we're doing virtually. And the plug of blockchronicles.com. Just if you have a chance, check out that website, because a partner of mine, we're trying to really do some dope work in the community and tell stories and just get stories out there all across the country. And yeah, I'd love for you to check out that.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about how we can collaborate on that piece as well. Absolutely. Cameron Parker, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the Necessary Trouble show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Necessary Trouble Show. Please visit necessarytroubleshow.com to support the show and to learn more. Subscribe to our e-newsletter and podcast, and follow us on social media at Necessary Trouble Show.
This is Paige. Thanks for watching.